started.
And then welcome them.
Welcome to the Darshan Center for Spiritual Evolution. We're so happy to have you here with us tonight.
We gather together tonight, our call to worship. We call in the energies, the gods, the goddesses, those in the higher realms, those of love, those of light. And I invite each person to call out the deities that they would want to invite in, the energies they want to invite in to our sacred celebration tonight. I call in the energy of the goddess. I call in Gaia, Saraswati. I call in all the goddesses to be with us tonight.
I call in Lord Shiva to remove all obstacles and to remove anything that gets in the way, to destroy all that no longer serves.
I call in Lakshmi. I call in Our Lady Guadalupe. I call in Muhammad. I call in Moses.
I call in St. Francis of Assisi to be here with us tonight, as well as all our ancestors.
In Holy Spirit and Jesus.
Holy Master Jesus.
Calling in Hanuman. Calling in the ancestors. Calling in the archangels.
Calling in all of the totem animals.
Calling in Ganesh.
Calling all the saints.
Call in the Moksha energy.
Welcoming all the guardians of light. We are grateful. Call to worship reminds us why we are here tonight, to celebrate, explore, and develop an interfaith experience and join together in sacred celebration of spirit. We welcome you to the Darshan Center for Spiritual Evolution, where our vision is attuned to a higher awareness of oneness. This house of worship is an interfaith and an interfaith sacred space for all people to heal, grow, learn, and develop a spiritual consciousness that celebrates the manifestation of the divine in all things.
This spiritual community is one of interfaith exploration, embracing all faiths that are affirming and positive, adhering to the highest spiritual goal of be good and do good. The major tenet of the spiritual community is that there is one infinite, all-powerful, all-knowing, ever-present divine source that moves in and around all that is seen and unseen.
We affirm that this divine source is called by many names and is beyond name and form, and recognize that while there are many paths that lead to enlightenment, each person is on their own personal journey towards the awareness and understanding of the divine.
We believe that we are spiritual beings having a human experience and that we are spiritually evolving in this lifetime. We declare that enlightenment is possible in the here and now, and that this enlightenment can offer us joy everlasting. We know that living in the present moment and recognizing the true I am, which is our divine nature, is where enlightenment lies.
We hope that you experience darshan, which is a Sanskrit term for visit with the divine, as a result of the sacred celebration of spirit that's been designed for you tonight. We are the guardians of the Darshan Center, and we're so pleased to have you here in Satsanga with us. Please join us now as we celebrate the song.
My peace I give unto you. It's a peace that the world cannot give. It's a peace that the world cannot understand. Peace to know, peace to live. My peace I give unto you. My joy I give unto you. It's a joy that the world cannot give. It's a joy that the world cannot understand. Joy to know, joy to live. My joy I give unto you. My love I give unto you. It's a love that the world cannot give. It's a love that the world cannot understand. Love to know, love to live. My love I give unto you. My peace I give unto you.
Beloved one, we recognize your peace. We recognize your peace because it lives in us, and we recognize that peace as the God spark, the divine essence of you that lives in us. And we are so grateful to be together tonight, to remember your divine essence, to remember the peace that resides deep within our hearts, to remember that we are not these bodies, that we are untouched by what is happening in the world, that we are peace, and that we are love, and that we are able to elevate ourselves and to help heal ourselves and each other. And we are so grateful for the gift of this community, and we are so grateful to be alive in these times, because we know that we have a mission to elevate your peace and love on this planet. And we are so grateful for Darshan and our mission and our ability to come together and do this work. And so together we say, blessed be, Aho, Amen,
Amen.
Ashe,
Ashe.
Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Om Shanti Shanti.
So I'd like us together to say my favorite prayer, the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi. I'll say the first line, Max will respond, and if you'll repeat Max's line after Max, we'll all be giving this prayer together. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred,
Let me sow love.
Let
Let
me
me
sow
sow
love.
love.
where there is injury,
Pardon.
Pardon.
where there is doubt,
Faith.
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 where there is despair,
Hope.
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 where there is darkness,
Light.
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 where there is sadness.
Joy.
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 O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled,
As to console.
As to console.
to be understood,
As to understand.
As to understand.
to be loved,
As to love.
As to love.
for it is in giving,
That we receive.
That we receive.
it is in pardoning,
That we are pardoned.
That we are pardoned.
and it is in dying,
That we are born to eternal life.
That we are born to eternal life.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Peace is flowing like a river, flowing out through you and me, flowing out into the desert, setting all the captives free.
Joy is flowing like a river, flowing out you and me, flowing out into the desert, setting all the captives free.
This next verse is faith. Faith is flowing like a river, flowing out through you and me, flowing out into the desert, setting all the captives free. Hope. Hope is flowing like a river, flowing out for you and me, flowing out into the desert, setting all the captives free. Love. Love is flowing like a river, flowing out for you and me,
was just beautiful. So, many of you have heard me say before that I do not like the fall. I don't. Everything dies. Everything starts to fall apart. And from the time I was a little girl, I loved summer, because summer was a great time to play. But I did not like going back to school. I kind of had bad association with it, because, I talked a lot in school. And back then, the way the nuns punished you was you'd have to go home and write definitions. I gotta tell you, I'd get 300 definitions starting with the letter I. I don't even know if there's that many words starting with the letter I. But I really hated it. And it would start gearing up for me in September, because I knew, back then they didn't go back to school until after Labor Day started. And I knew that it was not my favorite time of year, and I knew what was coming, and so I was geared up. And that seems to have stuck with me for many, many years now. I tend to get this, oh, here comes fall. Now, I know a lot of people love fall, and especially if you come from New England like I did, the trees were all turning different colors, but to me, that just meant that the leaves were going to fall and the trees were going to be bare and the snow was going to come. I've never been a great one that loved snow. I'd go out because I had to, but I never really loved it. I went to college in Vermont and I never learned to ski because I didn't like to be out in the snow. So you can just imagine, it was not my favorite time of year. This fall, things have seemed really, really hard to me. I've really kind of felt like a modern day leper. I have asthma. I've had asthma since I'm 2 years old. I had bronchial pneumonia when I was a little kid. I spent time in the hospital, and I was joking with somebody earlier, and I said, probably sitting on the high school lawn smoking dope probably didn't help all those years either. But as I've gotten older, the asthma's gotten worse and worse. Now normally, people just go, that's Mare, and she's coughing. But in this time, in this coronavirus time, it's really, really difficult because people look at you, it's like you are the modern day leper. They don't want to get anywhere near you. There's a sense of isolation with it. I know that I can get into that poor me thing, right? I know I can get into that nobody loves me, everybody hates me, let me eat some worms thing. And I sometimes tease with my son and I say, well, if somebody cooked it right, maybe I would try it, but I wouldn't because I don't eat meat anymore. So it's been a really hard fall already, and it's only been like a week. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts. I'm back teaching, and I'm teaching down in Miami, so I'm driving down there 2 days a week. And so I got a lot of time in the car, so I've been listening to podcasts. And one of the podcasts I really, really love is Unlocking Us by Brené Brown. And she really talks about that sense of shame that we all have. And she says shame is different than guilt. Guilt is when we've actually done something, and we can say, oh, I dropped the milk. I feel guilty for dropping the milk. But shame comes in when we start to label ourselves that. So when we start to say, I'm a klutz, or I'm irresponsible, or I'm, clumsy. That's when the shame comes in. She says that, right now, she said we're in day 2. And at first I didn't quite understand that, so I did a little research. And she used to teach 3-day trainings. And day 1 is the first day. And the first day, everybody's excited, and they're not really sure what's going on, but they're excited. And sometimes that excitement is actually anxiety. But she says when you get to the second day, that's when things really get moving. That's when the tough content comes. If you've ever been to a 3-day workshop, it is. The first day, they're just kind of setting the scene for you. But the second day is when they get into all this stuff. They get into, for my profession, they get into who had trauma and how do you deal with this trauma. They're not dealing with the nice stuff anymore. They're not dealing with the, oh, here's a nice coping skill to teach them this. It's not there. It's really in the muck and the mire of it. And I think that's where we are now, and that's what Brené Brown says too, is that's where we are now. And during these times, it's our shame and our worthiness that really comes into play. Like, do we really deserve the good things? You know, do we deserve to be around other people? Do we deserve to have happiness? What do we deserve? And she said that people feel really, really raw during these times. And so it's not unusual that we get on nerves of the people that we love and they get on our nerves. You know, with this coronavirus, we've all been stuck in our own little isolated tubes. Sometimes some of us are lucky enough to have somebody with us, sometimes not. Some of us are really, really lucky and we have a dog or a cat, and that's a really good thing, because they're the best ones to be stuck with if you have to be isolated. But we're raw. And she goes on to say that the middle is where the messy stuff happens, but it's also where the magic happens. I think I've been feeling a lot of the messy stuff. I've been waiting for the magic, you know, and sometimes I say to God, like, come on already. Like, I know you don't give me more than I can handle, but like, enough. You think I'm much stronger than I think I am right now. Can we get an agreement here that this is the last thing for at least a little while? Sometimes God agrees, sometimes not. Brene Brown also talked about how this is very similar to Joseph Campbell in The Hero's Journey, and how the first act is where we learn the background and the adventure starts. The challenge comes up. Here it is. It's now or never. And the second act is when the hero, protagonist, tries every solution that they know how to try, but only the ones that don't involve the hero getting vulnerable. That's the second act. It's the trying to do it our way. It's us trying to do it in a way that's easy and comfortable for us. Well, unfortunately, it doesn't end in the second act. And like Brene Brown says, once you're into the day two, you can't turn back. You're already there. You have to go through, and you hope there's going to be a light at the end of the tunnel, but you don't see it yet. And that's how those heroes feel when they're feeling really vulnerable and they don't know what the solution is. And in the third act, Joseph Campbell says that we realize that our vulnerability is the only way to succeed. We have to put it out there. We have to put it on the line. And again, there's no turning back if we want to get to the end, which is the journey, the celebration. It hit me that today is the first day of Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement. It's today through tomorrow. And this holiday started in 1313 BCE, and the people were worshiping a golden calf. And they really pissed God off. And Moses said, hold on, dudes, I'm going to go talk to God for you. And then he went up the mountain and he stayed for a really long time. And when he came back, people knew that they were forgiven. God sent down the forgiveness. It's a day of introspection. It's a day of prayer and fasting and asking for forgiveness. Also this time of year, we just had the fall equinox. That was September 22nd. It's the same day my son's born. Amazing, he's born on the day of the beginning of the season that I hate the most. I guess it's so I'll like it better, I don't know. But this is a time, that fall equinox, it's the one, or it's only the one of 2 days, that the day and the night are equal, that the light and the dark are equal. And then after that, things start to get darker quicker, and we see that here. It's getting darker quicker. It's the time of rest after the harvest. And the darkness starts to overtake the light. You know, we don't really like that. We don't really like the darkness. We're trained not to like the darkness. In every movie we see, the good guy wears the white hat, and the bad guy wears the black hat. And everything good happens in the day, and everything bad happens at night. It's a time to go within, but what do we see when we go within? I mean, a lot of times what we see in the darkness is fear. We see objects that don't look familiar to us. When I used to drive back from Tampa, I'd get home, almost to home, and I would see my house area, And I wouldn't know where I was because in the dark it looks so different. And it can really frighten us. It can frighten us to the point where we want to turn back, but we can't because we're already almost there. One of the things that I'm passionate about, because I used to be a solitary Wiccan, is Wicca. And, you know, Wiccans often wear black, and people misunderstand that. They think that, oh, they're devilish and they're horrible and they're awful. But really, Wiccans wear black as a symbol of trusting the unknown, as a symbol of walking into the darkness and trusting that some higher power has you in the palm of its hand. And so what do we do when we walk bravely into the darkness? And so we walk into ourselves through the Day of Atonement, through we're in the second day, through the it's getting dark and we need to go figure out what's going on. One of the things that we often find is judgment, and that judgment is our own self-judgment. It's not judgment from other people, it's from ourselves. And we have to look and see if we can forgive ourselves. You know, as a therapist, I see a lot of people who have childhood pain and trauma. And I always tell them they're walking around with these invisible headphones on. And through those headphones constantly are the negative messages that they got throughout their lives, that they got through the people who tormented them, that they got from the people who bullied them, that they got from the people who treated them poorly. And they think that they're victims to that. They think that they have to keep those headphones on. But the reality is we can turn the volume down. Unfortunately, a lot of us don't. You know, we feel unworthy, we feel unlovable, and we think we need to keep listening to those messages. And so when somebody says, you know, maybe you need to do this, we hear, you're not good enough. You didn't do it the right way. And so when we feel sorry for ourselves, we often turn up the volume. And what we're doing is we're just flooding ourselves more and more with those negative messages. You know, that feeling sorry for ourselves is a victim stance, and I know I can take that stance really, really easy at times. Unfortunately, if you've ever really been a victim of trauma, it's really easy to fall back into being that victim. It's a role we know all too well. And so it sometimes can be our first jump into. And what happens when we feel that is we get prickly. Some of us go into our addictions. And it doesn't matter what the addiction is. It doesn't matter if it's alcohol or if it's drugs or if it's control or if it's power or if it's trying to be good enough. But we go into those addictions. And we know, if we've ever been involved in recovery, or we know people in recovery that hurt people. And it continues on and on. And so how we treat other people when we're hurt and rejected is a mirror of what we feel about ourselves. We're being rude and mean and hurtful to other people, but really, we're angry with ourselves, we're upset with ourselves. It gives us a reason to stay in that victim role so that we can blame other people and so we don't have to change. It's what causes our separation. And that separation leads to many of the ills that we're dealing with in our society right now, with racism, with sexism, and ageism, and any other ism. Anybody who's not like me, I can point my finger at. So we alienate ourselves, we take it out on other people, but there's another option, and that is to turn within to God, to the God that lives within our hearts. You know, sometimes we have to find that space, and it's not comfortable. Sometimes it's really hard to meditate, and it's really hard to get peaceful when you're feeling all that stuff going on in yourself. But if we're brave enough, and if we're willing to get vulnerable enough with the one being on this planet who loves us more than anything, and we cry out, God will be there for us. Sometimes we have to cry really loud. And sometimes we think God's not answering us, but sometimes He's answering and He's just saying no. And, you know, most of us don't like that. We don't want to be given what we want. Sometimes it's somebody else who comes in the place of God, and they hold sacred space for us. Sometimes it's our animals who cuddle up to us when they know we're not feeling well. I have a cat. He's 15 years old, and his name is Panther, and we got him when another cat died, but that has been like Gavin's companion throughout the cancer stuff. When Gavin would be not feeling good in the middle of the night, everybody else would be asleep, but that cat comes right over and sits with him. That cat's been sitting with my son Sean, and he sits with me all the time, and he's been a faithful being for 15 years. God's given me that beautiful gift, and I hope he gives it to me for a lot longer. Sometimes we have to have the strength to hold ourselves, to pick up our own inner child and nurture ourselves. So when we get quiet and when we use our tools, we can hear something different. We can often see something different, and we can feel something different. When we are angry with ourselves, our Creator has already forgiven us. Just like a parent with a child. I know that sometimes my kids are a little irritable, and they'll snap at me, and before they've said I'm sorry, I've already forgiven them. And if that's me and I'm just human, we can only imagine how much better God is with us. We start to see what's actually in the darkness, and our eyes adjust to the possibilities, and we begin to see truth. Michael Murdad says that blasphemy is saying that we are something that God says we are not, or saying we are something that saying that we are not something that God says we are. And if we look, all of the holy books, all of the sacred scriptures tell us that we are light, that we are his chosen people, that we are his children, that we are his creation. And so basically what I want to say is God don't make junk. We are how we are. We're exactly the way we're supposed to be, whether somebody else accepts us or not. And what we need to do is continue to go inside and recognize that. When we get quiet and peaceful, we see that we're in day 2. And we can challenge the assumptions and the old solutions. If we're brave, and if we really believe what we say we believe about God, we'll let ourselves get vulnerable, and we'll show who we really, really are. We'll pick up the challenge to become a hero, and we'll demonstrate compassion, first to ourselves and then to others. When we get quiet and peaceful, we can see what is real beyond the veil. We can see that everything around us is just Maya, and we will recognize that we have a deep, deep connection with the Beloved, and that we can have any relationship with this higher power that we choose. The divine within each other. We recognize that there's no separation. The Lakota tribe uses the term at the end of their prayers, Mitaku Yasi, which means there is no separation. We are all connected. We say different things in order to notice that connection, whether it's Namaste, or Om Tat Sat, or I give you my peace. I hope that we can all recognize our connection and move forward to support one another, to be the small voice of God, maybe the text from God that lets us know that we do and we are love and peace. Thank you so much for letting me share. And so I'd like to invite anybody who wants to share, but I'd like to hear from the clergy as well.
Go first. love your topic because it's just so identifiable for me. You know, especially growing up and thinking that you're different, you want to be like everyone else so much, and you feel like it's something that's holding you back from being able to connect and being able to be like other people. And as you get older, you realize that those things that make you different are the real things that make you who you are, and those are the things that people love about you. So, you know, I think a lot of us can identify with having certain traits or certain feelings about themselves as being some type of negative thing holding you back. Actually is your power, is your tool, is your strength. That, you know, I remember praying to God to take these things away from me because I thought it made me so, I didn't like it about me, I guess you could say. And it's funny how, you know, when you give into it, when you accept what you have been given and you go on your journey, you learn that that is your strength. So I love the reminder that what I feel is hindering me is a tool that was given to me by the beloved, and I just haven't realized it yet. Thank you.
I loved it too, Rev Mary, and I was drawn initially to the beginning where you said, because I was raised Catholic also, and the message was always that God never gives us anything that we don't have the strength that we can't handle. And there's been so many times in my life when I've said, okay, God, I know you think I can handle it, but please give me even a week, just like you. It was just so refreshing to hear that someone else has actually said the same prayers as I still do once in a while. But actually, God's always right. I've never not been able to handle anything so far, so I pretty much have faith that going forward, no matter what we, and God only knows what we're going to see, with what's all the stuff happening, I can handle it. So I love that. And the other part that I liked a lot, I mean, it was all so good, but another little key feature was your invisible headphones. And all I can think of is, you know, yeah, we can turn the volume down, we can turn it off, or we can redo it, make our own podcast. And I'm gonna do that now. You planted that seed for me, and I'm gonna actually make my own message so that I don't have to turn down any volume. I can leave it blaring, but this time it will be with singing my own praises instead of someone telling me I'm not good enough or whatever. You know, we all have different messages that we hear or that were given to us. So thank you for the uplift.
Reverend Mary, it was beautiful. A lot of people that are not clergy don't see us as human in the way they don't think that we go through the same things that they do. Your sermon proves the type of clergy person you are, because you can relate. Though your story is, no two stories are the same, you can relate to somebody going through the same thing. I think most of us do say, okay, God, you give us no more than we can handle, but when is enough? So it's so easy for you to be able to relate to somebody. Not to say I understand what you're going through, because it's not the same journey, but it makes you more human to somebody who's on the other side of the clergy role. And to me, there's nothing wrong with shedding a tear, because first and foremost, we're human beings. But when you have that relationship with whomever your higher power is, what you told us today proves that no matter what we go through, we continue to go on, because that's our faith. And that will get somebody, when you least expect it, that will get somebody else through whatever they're going through. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I want to just echo that, that in that vulnerability that you were able to show your authentic self, it does inspire others. And also the reinforcement and the reminder that peace does begin with us, and that it is an inside job, and that in order to be peace in the world, to make peace with all those parts of ourselves that we've been denying and negating and abusing for so long. And it's just you did a wonderful job kind of tying and reminding us all that we really need to make peace within so that we can make peace without and love ourselves so we can love other people. And so thank you for those reminders. It was beautiful.
Put that on.
I think it stopped raining. So I think you can come back if you want to be able to see and hear. But I know that there's, in the interest of time. Huh? Stray drops? Okay. So
That might be the-
in the interest of time, I'm going to forego mine.
So you guys may have noticed that Rev Mary talked about getting a message, maybe even a text message of inspiration. And if you check your phone, I think each of you may have gotten a little message from the divine.
Oh, that's
And
Nice in the car.
if anyone would like to, maybe one or two people, if anyone would like to share yours, just let me know.
Treat kindly the dwellers of the earth and God, and treat you kindly. The Hadith, Islam.
I got, if there is to be peace in the world, there must be peace in the nations. If there is to be peace in the nations, there must be peace in the cities. If there is to be peace in the cities, there must be peace between neighbors. If there is to be peace between neighbors, there must be peace in the home. If there is to be peace in the home, there must be peace in the heart. Lao Tzu.
Mine says, when you make peace with yourself, you make peace with the world. And it's Mahatma Gandhi.
Beautiful. Thank you guys for sharing, and just keep this with you throughout your week as you go. Keep a nice reminder of peace. Thank you.
Oh, you got one?
Well, I was gonna give you mine. For my peace, I say God writes straight with crooked lines, and it keeps me peaceful.
So, you all know that the Darshan Center continues to rely completely on your generous contributions, especially during this crisis. In order for us to continue to pay the rent and meet all of the expenses, it's very easy to contribute. You can easily do it via PayPal at paypal.me/Darshan Center. You can go through Venmo at Darshan Center 840. Or you can use Cash App, $, Darshan Center 840. No amount is too small. No amount is too big. So give whatever you can, and just please give it with love, and we love you back. Thank you.
Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina. Sarve Santuni Ramaya. Sarve Bhadrani Pashantu. Akashi May all be healthy, may all be happy, may all be free from disease. Let no one suffer any misery. Lead us from falsehood to truth and darkness to light and death to immortality. Announcements. Well, here's an announcement. No matter how difficult this all is, we still keep doing it. That's all I can say. It's not easy. It's not easy with the mask. It's not. It's none of this is easy, God. None of it. And so I don't know if you can hear us or not. But what is it that's making everything so difficult? I don't know. But I do know that we've been called to be here now, to love, to serve, to remember. And that's what satsanga is. Satsanga is about holding each other up. When one is falling, the other lifts them up. We have a saying in recovery, hopefully we're not all crazy on the same day in the same moment, you know. It seems like lately we all are kind of crazy at the same moment though. So, but we'll keep doing our best. Last night we had kirtan. We had a few people that were here. And I know that the South Florida situation with the rain is an issue. But if it's a heavy downpour that's going to be forecast, I will definitely cancel and let you know in advance that it's canceled. Otherwise, come if you want to come. If you don't want to come, you'd rather stay home, that's okay. But let's not rely on the live stream situation here because we have no Wi-Fi here. And my cell phone service is not working here. There's no satellite here. And there's the Wi-Fi is not working here. So it's just like all the things that could possibly be the obstacles seem to be bringing themselves forward. We'll do the best we can. Thank you to Sister Fran, because we're using her cellular data right now. She has T-Mobile, shout out to T-Mobile, and boo to Verizon. Serious on that. The next announcement is, I'm not sure about Kirtan next month. It falls on, Reverend Max asked me last night and I didn't know off the top of my head, but it does fall on Halloween. So show of hands, we're gonna do a group conscience right here. How many of you will be here for that? October 31st. Okay, there's not enough people, so I think that we're gonna cancel Kirtan. If we do Kirtan, it'll be online, and we won't do it here. So that's group conscience. See, you just did a recovery thing. Okay, we just had a business meeting and we just decided. So that's that announcement. That's it. Every single Sunday we'll be here at 6:30. We do have this And you know, the other thing that's really great is that we're starting to come into now the cooler weather and less rainy season. So that'll be really, really, really good. So let's say the next kirtan is in November, but that's also a standby because that last Saturday might be the Saturday after Thanksgiving. So let's wait and see on kirtan. And maybe we could do it on another date, but let's think about that. I'd like some feedback from, because if we're only doing this, I could do this for myself at home, right? And we could do it online, but if we want to have it in person, then I need your feedback. I need to hear from you. Call me. RevDrG.Telesco@gmail is my email. You can call me 917-579-3750 and give me some feedback on what the group wants, because we're here to serve you. We're here to serve you. Okay? That's it.
All right, so let us pray. Take a nice deep breath. Truly take some comfort to know that this moment there is nothing but comfort. Mother God, Father God, Holy Spirit, all ascended masters, all angels and saints, spirit guides, ancestors. We thank you so much for bringing us back together, for bringing the family back together, to letting us be in the presence with one another in this amazing setting to be able to do it outside. It's an obstacle, but it is a blessing as well. We are so grateful for everything that you have given us, even though we may want more now and again, and that there is more now and again. We are satisfied with everything that you give us. Keep us in your love, keep us in your protection until we meet again in Satsanga. And let us always remember the peace that is within each of our hearts. Amen. Amen. Abo, Ashe, blessed be, and so it is. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And in true Darshan tradition, we get to dance it out. Get up, everybody.